Good morning. Well, I say good morning, of course it's now good afternoon because it's 12 o'clock in the UK and it's time for our second webinar of the day from Emma Torok and Mark Noviss of Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And I'm very much enjoying the chat going on at the moment, people predicting what's going to happen in 2013 and Porty Patsy saying, I'm here to learn today, which I thoroughly concur with. We all are, I hope, here to learn from each other and also to contribute. Gosh, excuse me. I really must get that thing from the doctors that's going to enable me to talk for 2 minutes at a stretch without coughing. Thanks for your comments about the changing role of the learning and development profession. Please keep those going, but please also pay attention while I do my standard bit of introduction. If you've heard me before, please stick with it because there will be people who haven't heard the housekeeping before and we all need to know exactly what we need to do when. Let me just quickly go through the housekeeping, then we'll crack on with Mark and Emma. Firstly, a big thank you to our sponsors who make it possible for us to deliver these webinars. We have about 40 a year and it's great to have them only possible because of the 16 sponsors that make it all possible. So thank you to them for their support. The perennial question asked during every, so I'm just turning down the volume on my iPad, there we are. The perennial question asked during every presentation is, will everything be available afterwards? And the answer is yes. Recording, slides in PDF format. The web chat will be available afterwards at learningandskillsgroup.com. So that's our community for something like over 6,000 learning and development professionals internationally. Go there to access the archive and then stick around if you want to make sure that if you want to just engage in the conversation. Got a question about the dial-in. I'm just going to drop that in there. And let me just give you details about how we use the phone numbers in a second. The sound, as you're probably aware by this stage, is coming through your headset or through your computer speakers. And if you can't do that, or if there's an issue with the sound for some reason, then you can dial in. And if you need a global phone number or a phone number outside the UK, I'm just going to drop that URL in here as well. So please feel free to use that as an alternative list for your number locally where you are in the world. We do use chat a lot during these sessions. Please feel free to pitch in with your yes, please feel free to pitch in with your conversation. I'm stopping because I've just seen Tamara Roberts say, is there any sound at the moment? Yes, there is, Tamara. Okay. So Tamara, you will need to dial in with that pin, and it looks like we've got some feedback from somebody dialing in. So Emma and Mark, if that's you dialing in, could you mute something to prevent that happening? Thank you. Okay, so there is sound at the moment. Please use the chat, Tamara, and everybody else in order to communicate with each other so that we can all hear what other people are saying and we build on it. That's the great thing about these webinars is that we come together and we build on each other rather than everyone saying the same thing. And unlike a live meeting, you can't have everybody talking at the same time. You can have everybody chatting at the same time. So please go ahead and let us hear what your thoughts are. And tomorrow I hope you will be able to join us with sound shortly. I'll keep dropping that sound thing into the chat as we go on. There will be some point during this where you may want to full screen your demonstration. In other words, to see everything in full detail, and if that's the case, then click the full screen button. But please don't do it now. Please do wait until I give you the nod. And Nick, thank you very much for suggesting that LSG webinars are high value. We look always to maintain that. Okay, it's a perfect break in the day, Ruth. Well, I hope they're a perfect break in the day. I also hope they're valuable as well. David, if there's a problem with the VoIP, I'm not sure what it is, but hopefully the telephone will be a valuable alternative. So if you're enjoying them, please let people know through #LSG Webinar on Twitter. But really, that's probably enough chat from me. Time to move us over to our webinar for the day. We're going to be hearing from Mark Noviss and Emma Torres.
Banking and wealth management. I'm also ultimately responsible for our cross-line of business core curriculum, which is what we'll be shedding some light on today. I've been at Bank of America Merrill Lynch for 1.5 years, and before that was in similar roles at Nomura and Goldman Sachs. I also wanted to introduce a colleague of mine, Zoe Kogan, who's not joining us now, because she's looking after a 3-week-old baby, but who would otherwise have been speaking to you today because of the significant role she played in the story Mark and I are going to tell you today.
So, to put this into context, a couple of months ago, I approached Don for some advice on how we could share some information on what we thought was an interesting case study. So it's a story that we feel is relevant to most of you that are working in a corporate learning environment or even HR today, one that you'll either have experienced or will experience or are going through the experience at the moment. We thought there's an opportunity that if we share our experiences, some of our successes, challenges to our peers within the industry, you would be able to benefit from them whilst creating your own stories. What I wasn't necessarily expecting to do was for Don to ask us to present a webinar, so here goes. From previous experience of attending these, I know everyone will be pretty active on chat, but please, as we go through, feel free to ask any questions. Our main objective of this session is, to offer our case study for the benefit of others. So as and when we can, we'll answer questions as we go through. I know Don, as always, will monitor the chat, and if there's any questions we don't address, we can come back to them at the end. But we purposely kept this session pretty light on content so that we've got lots of opportunities to have a discussion with you all as we go through. So, first of all, I want to be a little self-indulgent and say thanks to our team here at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. The learning team not only put in a lot of effort during the project, but they were willing to go with my concept as far as this slide deck is concerned. So over the past couple of weeks, we've had them photographed in various poses, and they've all been generally very willing participants. Most of those that you'll see throughout the deck are members of the team. There are one or two others in there that are generic photos, but there's 18 of them. They're based supporting all of our businesses across Europe and the emerging markets, excluding Asia. Approximately half of them are learning managers, learning consultants in client-facing roles, so aligned to one or more of our businesses. And those businesses are made up of approximately 18,000 employees within our region. We're a business of around 300,000 globally, and our regional market spans around 30 countries and 48 city hubs. The 18,000 range from support staff such as ourselves or marketing through to the sales focus role. So traders, wealth managers, and lots more in between. So as far as the story is concerned, we go back just over a year and now, we were in a very different place. As a business, we were at the start of an efficiency drive, very well publicised. New BAC project, which was something which was taking place on a global scale across all of our line of business. Over around a 9-month to a year period, which is aimed at identifying inefficiencies and, of course, at reducing costs. A result of this meant that as a learning function, we found ourselves in the position of having to make some decisions around the direction of our future learning strategy. We, at the time, operated in a very siloed manner. So each of our learning consultant, learning manager was aligned to a specific line of business. Their focus was almost uniquely on that line of business, rather than what their colleagues were doing across learning as a whole. There was rarely much shared outside of these individual line of business pods, and little attention was given to identifying any synergies between them. So the result of that was that far too often, and this goes for outside of our region as well as within, we were delivering or developing similar courses or solutions across different businesses, sometimes even with the same vendors, and often to half-empty classrooms without looking for any opportunities to share expertise or reuse any existing solutions. So our portfolio of offerings at the time consisted of a core curriculum, which was delivered in a very traditional way, so instructor-led sessions that generally lasted 1 or more days. Pretty generic web-based training courses, and little or no mobile or on-demand accessibility for any learning content. We're painting the picture that sounds pretty damning at the moment, but you know, with any story, you need to paint a darker picture at the start to be able to have that happy ending at the end. And clearly, it wasn't all bad at the time. The team were all working very, very hard to deliver everything for their particular businesses, but perhaps without being as commercially thoughtful as we could have been. So I'm going to take this opportunity for the first time to use the chat function and ask a question. For you to contribute to. So within your businesses, within learning or HR, what have been the main drivers for you for change? Within your businesses, where Don encouraged me for uncomfortable silence.
And when we were discussing this, I said, yeah, you'll have to wait 7 seconds before anything comes through. Not true. We've had an absolute deluge of stuff coming through straight away. And immediately, of course, you can see a theme there, Mark, can't you? Henry Fuller pressed one button, the pound key. And I think that's summing up a lot of stuff that's coming through underneath it. But we've also got Gen Y, issues with time. Sebastian says digital. Sebastian, could you expand what you mean by that? Colin Hurst going for the dollar sign rather than the pound sign. And we've got some, Nick Emmett's got some very particular issues for his particular area. But I think you can see some themes coming through there. We've got generations and the idea of resources in general, Mark, yeah?
Thanks, Don. So, as you say, very, very common themes. I think we experienced very similar things ourselves. So the messages we were getting was, around our budget being cut. We took a significant cut in our budget. It was more than 50%, and the original budget was very much split across both line of business specific learning and our our core curriculum, our cross line of business offerings. We also, as a lot of people did at the time, took an impact from
consultants met with and presented the new curriculum and portal to their business. Within the first 2 weeks, more than 20% of our regional population had visited the portal. And we continue to get more than 150 hits a week at times when we're not actively pushing. Solutions.
So as far as the story itself is concerned now, this is the point where we get to the happy ending of our slides. So we're showing the same, almost the same pictures that we did earlier, but with much happier delegates. Now, so whether they're attending in classroom sessions or web-based or now able to access content from home. I thought what we do at this point is to give you a quick demo of our portal, what we the what we developed internally. It's worth bearing in mind at this point that we're not a vendor trying to sell you our Sunday best. We're an internal team showing you what we implemented as a learning portal without the need to spend vast sums of money. In fact, the only cost involved in developing this was purely from an internal resource point of view, so using our own